Welcome back to Real Nickle News Network. Today we explore disturbing truths about how the world works, confronting all the lies you were told. Enjoy this podcast with Austin and Grace, hosts of the AI Breakdown Pod team. Please remember to like and subscribe for more amazing content.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got this source material, and it's quite something.
It really is. It's a raw look, isn't it, at how the world, according to this author, really operates.
Yeah, like beneath the surface, it gives us these disturbing truths about power, systems, how we behave.
That's a good way to put it. It's not exactly, a feel-good read. It's challenging, designed to provoke, I think.
Definitely. To make you see things differently. It suggests maybe the normal we accept isn't really set up for our benefit.
Right. And our listeners sent this in wanting us to go deep, using only this material.
And figure out how to navigate it. Or even, as they put it, win against these forces it describes.
Yeah, but not like a typical how-to. More about understanding the game deeply.
So you can find your own way.
Right.
Reclaim something.
Exactly. Reclaim some autonomy, maybe authenticity, things the source claims the system tries to control.
And it's interesting, like you said, it doesn't just lay out 5 easy steps.
No, not at all. It diagnoses really intensely, details the problems, the control mechanisms.
So the how-to part, it's scattered, hidden in the critique.
Pretty much. Hints, implications. You have to piece together the mindset, the actions it suggests are needed to operate differently.
Okay. So for you listening, that's our mission today. We're going to examine these claims, understand these disturbing truths.
Meticulously.
And then, using only what this source gives us, we'll try to synthesize what awareness, what actions it points towards.
It's like understanding the rules so you can play differently.
Right.
Or maybe choose not to play the way it expects.
Right. Okay, let's dive in. Where does the source start us off?
It starts with something pretty fundamental. The bedrock, it argues. Money and power write the rules.
Okay. Not just an observation, but like the prime mover.
That's how it's positioned, yeah. The argument is stark. Success, the world's direction. It's not primarily driven by intelligence or great ideas or effort.
It's wealth.
It's wealth. Money dictates reality, according to this source.
Wow. Okay. So it draws a contrast then, like good ideas versus funded ideas.
Exactly. Think about some potentially world-changing idea, clean energy, better education, a medical breakthrough.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have serious funding, the source says it likely gets overlooked. Withers.
But a less revolutionary idea.
Yeah.
Maybe even a harmful one.
Yeah.
If it has money behind it.
It can thrive, dominate, because investors, following the logic described, see profit there. It's about capital, not inherent value.
So financial clout trumps
Well,
everything else.
that's the argument. And it goes beyond just markets.
Oh, sorry.
The source is really explicit here. Wealth doesn't just open doors, it writes the rules. Laws, policies, they bend around money.
So intelligence. It can see the problems, but it doesn't have leverage.
Exactly. It can identify injustice, propose solutions, but without that financial backing, it's just, as the source puts it, a voice lost in the wind.
Okay, so connect that to politics and media. How does it play out there?
Well, in politics, the source argues real power isn't truly democratic. It's not about the most ethical or smartest person winning.
It's about wealth concentration.
Yes, campaigns need huge money. Lobbyists representing financial interests are shaping policy behind closed doors.
So the well-meaning citizen without deep pockets.
Is basically sidelined. Their insights don't have the same weight as, brute financial force.
And the media, same dynamic.
The source says yes. Ideas get traction based on funding, not necessarily truth or value. Someone wealthy decides something's important.
And that drowns out other voices. More thoughtful commentary.
Easily. Wealthier voices can buy platforms, shape perception, dominate the narrative. It's not about the truth of the message, but the budget behind it.
So the disturbing truth here is the world rewards wealth first. Above merit, intellect, fairness.
That's the core claim. Intelligence is secondary. Money shouts louder, commands attention, and silences opposition.
And this isn't seen as a bug, but a feature.
A core feature, according to the source. This is how it works.
And acknowledging this, it's not about being cynical. It's about awareness.
Exactly, seeing the real rules. That awareness, the source insists, helps dismantle that illusion of meritocracy.
The idea that talent and hard work are all it takes.
Right. The myth we're taught. Work hard, be smart, you'll succeed. The source calls that largely an illusion.
And we cling to it because the alternative is uncomfortable. confronting money's power.
Profoundly uncomfortable. It suggests a fundamental unfairness.
Which ties into how the source views power itself, right? Like, real power isn't voted for.
Exactly. It argues you don't really vote for the forces that truly shape things, not the deep structures.
So where does real power operate then, according to this?
Not in public forums, not where votes are cast. It's in boardrooms, think tanks, private dinners, behind closed doors.
Inherited, bought, maneuvered.
All of the above. It trades in secrets, influence, not public mandates.
So when you vote,
Mhm.
the source says you're choosing the face of power, not its spine.
That's the quote, yeah. And it suggests that this is intentional.
Why? How does that help those with real power?
Because the illusion of agency keeps people playing along. If you think your vote counts equally, that the system is fair.
You're less likely to rebel or question the underlying structure.
Precisely. You debate policies, argue online, participate in the spectacle. Meanwhile, real decisions happen elsewhere, by unelected forces.
And the mechanisms are things like lobbyists, the revolving door between industry and government.
Wealthy donors, funding campaigns, owning media platforms, all that stuff.
So an outsider who truly challenges this,
They get crushed or co-opted or just erased by these financial and structural forces. It's not usually a fair fight at the ballot box. The source poses some tough questions here. If power was really with the people, would inequality be this extreme?
would billionaires pay so little tax while services crumble?
Would healthcare be a commodity? Would truth be auctioned off? Real power, it argues, doesn't need public debate.
It's protected by money, media, myth.
Exactly. And protest, it's tolerated, maybe even encouraged sometimes.
As long as it doesn't actually threaten profits or the core logic.
That's the line. The illusion of agency keeps people compliant, keeps the real decision makers safe in the shadows.
This also links to something else the source mentions, doesn't it? Survival bias.
Right. We look at the few who make it in the system.
The successful entrepreneur, the powerful politician.
And we say, see, merit works. We attribute it all to their talent, their hard work.
But we ignore all the others who worked just as hard, maybe had better ideas, but failed.
Exactly. The source argues they often fail not for lack of merit, but because the game is shaped by money, power, and a lot of unacknowledged luck.
And this myth, fueled by survival bias, keeps us playing along, makes us blame ourselves.
Yes. Blame ourselves or blame those who struggle, calling them lazy or lacking merit instead of questioning the structure itself.
Okay, so that's the structural critique. But then the source moves into something maybe even more personal, how the system exploits our human nature.
Yes. And one of the most striking claims is that our goodness, our positive traits, can actually become vulnerabilities.
That feels counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
You think being good is strength.
It can be, but the source argues things like kindness, empathy, generosity, duty, while vital for society.
They create openings for manipulation.
Precisely. Manipulators, it claims, are skilled at spotting and exploiting these best instincts.
How does that work? Like with guilt?
Guilt is a big one. Good people feel responsible. If someone claims you hurt them, you often internalize blame, even if unwarranted.
And manipulators weaponize that.
Turn kindness into obligation, favors into debts. Use your decency against you, subtly trapping you in dynamics that drain you.
What about empathy? That's usually seen as purely positive.
The source calls it a double-edged sword. It makes setting boundaries hard. Saying no feels cruel to an empathetic person.
So manipulators play the victim.
Constantly needing rescue, support, emotional labor. Think of a parent guilt-tripping an adult child, or a partner demanding constant reassurance. Empathy becomes a leash.
And the need for approval, fear of conflict.
Also, vulnerabilities. Good people often want harmony, avoid confrontation.
So manipulators create environments where disagreement is toxic.
Right. Leading good people to silence themselves, comply, sacrifice truth for a fake peace.
And larger systems, governments, corporations, they use this too. Appealing to duty, responsibility.
Absolutely. To maintain control. Good citizens comply out of conviction. They care about community, stability.
But that goodness makes them less likely to question, to demand transparency.
Exactly. They become obedient, not necessarily coerced, and the language gets weaponized. Good people don't complain. Good employees don't question.
So virtue gets equated with silence. Questioning becomes selfishness.
That's the manipulation. It's disturbing because it flips the script. The very things we admire become tools for exploitation. Goodness needs awareness.
Following that, there's an even more provocative idea, that a lot of our kindness isn't genuine but comes from fear.
Yeah, this one digs deep. It's not saying all kindness is fake, but that a significant chunk might stem from fear.
Fear of what? Rejection, conflict, being seen badly.
All of that. Fear of being seen as cruel, selfish. We learned it early, right? Politeness avoids punishment. Smiling avoids questions. Helping avoids guilt.
Guilt is fear in a friendly mask.
That's the source's take. Fear you'll be abandoned if you say no. Fear you'll be judged if you're honest.
So you comply. Soften your voice, swallow opinions, help when you're drained.
Right. And you get praised for it. Called kind, generous, helpful.
But the source says what's being rewarded isn't virtue. It's obedience, compliance.
Your reliability, your silence, your predictability. It's kindness born from fear. Self-effacement. Keeping the peace by being invisible.
And the acceptance you get is conditional.
Totally. The moment you set a boundary, prioritize yourself, speak truth, the praise stops. People get upset. They weren't loving you. They were loving your compliance.
How does the source contrast this with true kindness?
True kindness has strength. It can say no. It risks being disliked for honesty, chooses integrity over fake harmony.
Whereas fear-based kindness leads to resentment, burnout, isolation.
Exactly. You're trapped behind a smile. It's about being safe and compliant, not genuinely good in a strong sense.
Okay. Another big tool mentioned is shame. Shame as control.
Yes. The source argues shame is control. It teaches obedience, punishes visibility, makes you constantly self-monitor.
And it's built into society, religion, culture.
Deeply embedded. Think sin, cultural norms, and now massively amplified by social media.
Right. Viral shaming, permanent records, mob judgment.
It taps right into that primal fear of exclusion. Belonging feels like survival. So you conform out of fear of being laughed at, labeled, shamed.
So shame becomes indistinguishable from power. Culture as surveillance.
That's the idea. Deviance is dangerous because it makes you visible, and visibility invites shame. We learn this young kid's shamed for deviating.
Which leads people to stay quiet, lie, contort themselves to fit in.
Yes, swallowing dissent. Not necessarily cowardice, the source says, but shame-taught survival.
And it's used politically.
Corporately.
Labeling beliefs to marginalize them, creating inadequacy to sell products. Shame is everywhere.
What's the deeper cost of living under this regime of shame? It fractures your identity, makes you mistrust your instincts, doubt your worth. You internalize the subjugation, become your own warden.
Okay, let's shift to some other psychological tools. Exhaustion. That feeling of being perpetually drained.
The source argues this isn't accidental, it's a feature, a deliberate outcome.
The world moves deliberately too fast. Too many demands, distractions.
Exactly. And when you're worn down physically, mentally, emotionally, you lack the energy to question, to resist.
You just accept things. Too tired to think critically.
Right. Simple answers, easy distractions become appealing. You become passive, an observer, not a participant.
And the workplace contributes. Hustle culture.
Big time. Glorifying exhaustion. Rewarding endurance over well-being or efficiency. The system extracts value upwards, leaves you depleted.
Social media, too. Optimized for drainage.
Designed for compulsive return, yeah. Dopamine hits mixed with outrage, anxiety. Keeps you fatigued but hooked.
Consumer culture leverages it. Weakens self-control.
Leads to impulse buys, comfort food, fueling profits.
And politically. Exhaustion suppresses dissent.
Absolutely. Tired people don't organize, protest, demand accountability. Keeps populations compliant, manageable.
It also isolates us. Weakens relationships, community.
Yes. Disconnected, tired people are less likely to see shared struggles or unite.
And the insidious part is we're taught it's normal, even virtuous.
Right. Just working hard. Recognizing it as a potential control mechanism is the first step. Your rest, your energy becomes almost revolutionary.
Related, but maybe subtler. Comfort is control.
Yeah, the velvet-lined trap, as the source calls it.
Comfort is intoxicating. Soothes anxiety, numbs fear, persuades acceptance.
Exactly. And our environment is increasingly designed for ease. Instant delivery, streaming, smart devices.
So the more comfortable you are, the less likely you are to disrupt that comfort.
Precisely. By asking hard questions, facing difficult truths, challenging things, discomfort starts to feel unnatural, scary.
It creates inertia.
Yeah.
Keeps you passive.
Indifferent. The system gives just enough comfort to prevent dissent, but not enough to truly empower.
Entertainment plays a role. Endless distraction.
Tailored content keeps you occupied. World's problems fade away. An artificial paradise.
In work life, comfort means settling, not demanding more.
The illusion of stability, paycheck, routine keeps you locked in. This is good enough, you think. Don't risk the comfort.
Politically, comfortable citizens don't rock the boat.
Less likely to question systems if their personal comfort is untouched. Individual ease trumps collective issues.
Comfort isolates too. Individual satisfaction over collective action.
Yeah. Community action feels less necessary when your immediate needs seem met. It becomes a cage, albeit a soft one.
And unlike fear, we seek comfort. Willingly embrace it.
Which makes it so effective. But the source insists real growth, real freedom requires discomfort.
Yeah.
Risk, struggle.
So comfort restricts potential, numbs our power.
That's the core argument. It leads to that key question.
But come back to that. Okay, another unsettling one. Self-deception as rewarded, lying to yourself.
The source says society thrives when you do this, rewards it subtly.
How'd like looking away from uncomfortable truths, telling yourself things are fine.
Yes, because it keeps you compliant, productive, controllable. A self-deceiving person is predictable.
Give me an example. In a career.
Reassuring yourself a draining job is fulfilling, despite the stress, the toll. Corporations reward this raises, praise incentivizing the pretense.
Relationships. Ignoring problems for harmony.
Avoiding conflict, suppressing needs, praised as keeping the peace. Dishonesty disguised as politeness.
Belief systems. Politics, ideology.
Easier to accept simple narratives groupthink than grapple with complexity. Compliance is rewarded with belonging, identity.
And this serves the powerful. Predictable consumers, passive citizens.
Exactly. Less likely to challenge injustice if it means confronting your own comforting lies.
Even our brains reward it. Dopamine for avoiding distress.
The source suggests so. A literal incentive to ignore reality for comfort.
What's the cost, though, according to the source?
A growing gap between your persona and true self. Numbness, disconnection, emptiness. Losing sight of who you really are. Society values the appearance over the substance.
So honesty with oneself becomes revolutionary.
It breaks the cycle, creates a foundation for authentic action.
Okay, let's talk about how suffering fits in. The source says pain is profitable, punishment over prevention.
Yeah, this is grim. Suffering isn't just tolerated, it's monetized. Behind every crisis, there's a profit model.
Healthcare is the prime example. Goal isn't healing, but business.
That's the argument. Chronic illness as a business plan. Pharma needing customers, not cures. Treatment, not resolution.
Punishment for neglect is profitable. Preventing the need, not so much. That's a harsh quote.
It is. It suggests systems are reactive by design. Managing suffering for profit, not aiming to reduce it.
Because prevention removes future customers. Punishment creates repeat business.
That's the logic presented. Think. Underfunded schools, expanding jails, cut crisis lines, increase surveillance, treating symptoms, ignoring root causes.
Because there's no economic incentive for prevention.
Often not a strong one, no. When you struggle illness, debt, legal trouble, you enter systems that might profit from managing your pain, not ending it.
You become a potential revenue stream.
Chilling, isn't it? The source argues real solutions won't come from the top, from systems benefiting from brokenness.
Why would they fix it? Prevention needs long-term thinking, investment, losing short-term profits.
Exactly. Systems run on margins, incentives, not always morality. Punishment is often more profitable than prevention. Problems persist because someone's cashing in on your suffering.
Which leads right into the idea that systems are designed to stay broken. Dysfunction is intentional.
Yes. Not an accident, but a feature, serving a select few.
How does it apply this to education?
Structured like a factory. Rewards obedience, conformity, churns out compliant workers, not critical thinkers. Designed for submission.
Healthcare. We touched on that. A business, a commodity, healing priced, rationed, sick person, revenue. Why fix that if it makes money?
Right. Let it break further. Desperation is controllable, profitable.
Politics. Illusion of representation. Theater masking a marketplace of power.
Politicians answer to donors, not voters. The system stays broken, gridlocked, because it keeps you blaming the other side, not the structure.
Justice. Illusion of impartiality, but sees status, wealth.
Poor wait, rich settle, powerful evade. Endures because it maintains order, the appearance of accountability, not true fairness. Protects hierarchy.
So the pattern is, systems pretend to serve the public, but really preserve hierarchy, profit, control.
That's the source's claim. The chaos, bureaucracy, waiting not failure, but features of a machine working for the few.
And the brilliance is it trains you to blame yourself. Didn't work hard enough.
Exactly. Internalize the blame. Try harder, burn out faster, while the system extracts your energy and hope.
Because real change, fixing things, threatens stability, means redistributing power.
Which the powerful resist.
Okay.
So let it stay broken, just functional enough to keep you chasing solutions within it, just broken enough to maintain control.
Okay, let's shift to identity, how we see ourselves. The source talks about being bought without realizing it.
Yeah, the subtle sale of the self. Not cash transactions, usually.
It happens incrementally, piece by piece, while you tell yourself you're just doing what makes sense.
Exactly. Silencing an opinion for acceptance. Dialing back your personality. Biting your tongue because agreeable is convenient. Trading authenticity for comfort is a deal.
Careers are a key example. Start with values, but the pay is good.
The benefits, the promotion. Slowly you shift. Stop questioning. Start protecting the paycheck. The original you fades, replaced by someone paid just enough to keep quiet.
Relationships, too. Adjusting who you are to avoid conflict. Performing roles.
Hiding truths because it's easier. Bought with emotional security, maybe. Trading connection for compliance.
Society. Adapting a public face. Playing along with narratives. Sharing opinions not quite yours.
All to avoid backlash, gain approval, likes, shares become currency, compromising for that social dopamine hit, trading freedom for favor.
And the system rewards this compliance. Subtly. Promotion, compliment, retweet.
More effective than threats, often. Tiny reinforcements shape you.
Our brain joins in. Avoiding conflict feels like relief. Blending in feels safe.
Comfort becomes addictive. You start doing it to yourself, voluntarily selling out.
The cost is part of you chipped away. Forget your uncensored self. Beliefs negotiated down.
Integrity worn down by convenience, fear, comfort. It's about awareness of this gradual erosion.
This connects to obedience as invisibility, doesn't it? Follow the rules, be polite, don't question. Rewarded as being good.
But the source calls this a trick. Obedience as conditioning for control, not necessarily virtue.
The Milgram experiment analogy. Obeying authority even when causing harm. Just following orders.
Right, how bad things happen. Not pure evil, but conditioned obedience. Feeling safe because you followed instructions.
The world needs you to comply. Stay silent, nod, sign, look away. Obedience as a shield from guilt.
You stop asking if the rules are right. Confuse discipline with virtue, submission with goodness.
Society reinforces this. Sit still, respect authority, train not to think critically.
Exactly. More obedient, more celebrated. Student, employee, citizen. Virtue becomes following the script.
So when the system is unjust, you're unequipped. Conditioned that disobedience is dangerous, immoral.
So you stay quiet. Obey. It feels like virtue because disobedience is uncomfortable, relies on your own judgment, risks punishment.
But obedience is never neutral. It upholds justice or enables injustice.
That's the claim. Subtle acts, small lies, silence, enforcing bad policy, easy to justify, often praised.
The cost. Each unexamined act serves something, potentially dark. Hijacks your moral compass. Equates goodness with compliance.
Replaces inner conviction with external approval. Real virtue, the source says, questions, resists, chooses not to follow when it causes harm. Often punished. Obedience keeps the machine running. Disobedience threatens it.
And finally, under identity. Feeling replaceable. Disposable.
That pervasive anxiety. Taught your values, conditional performance, compliance, fitting the mold.
Step out of line, slow down, burn out, speak up, and you're replaced.
Not special, useful. Stop being useful, disappear. That's the stark message described.
The machine analogy. People as cogs, measured by output. Machine doesn't care about your humanity.
Just output, breaks, replaced. And you're conditioned to think it's your fault if you're replaced.
Careers feel this intensely. Always someone younger, cheaper, faster. Pressure to overwork out of fear.
Trying to be irreplaceable in a system designed to make everyone replaceable. The threat hangs over you. Praised, promoted, until you cost too much or aren't useful enough, then gone.
And the system makes it your responsibility to stay essential. Prove your worth constantly.
Take on more, stay later, smile harder, ignore your needs. Out of fear, someone's waiting. Fear as control.
Not just work. Education, grades, relationships, love earned by service. Activism, sidelined if inconvenient.
It permeates many areas, the source suggests.
The cruel twist is internalizing it. Seeing yourself as just a role, a function. Fear rest, equated with failure.
Never stop performing. Lose yourself. Collapse, no safety net, next person steps in. the quiet violence of disposability.
And the source argues you're meant to feel this way, so you'll comply.
Exactly. But realizing your inherent worth doesn't need their validation. That's the start of reclaiming yourself, becoming free from that specific control.
Wow. Okay, that is a lot. A comprehensive and, deeply disturbing diagnosis. It lays bare the mechanics, the exploitation, the psychological tools, the cost.
It really does. Doesn't pull punches. Wealth dictates rules. Goodness is vulnerability. Comfort and exhaustion are tools. Authenticity and fairness are secondary.
So back to the core question from our listener, based only on this source. Is there a path forward, a way to navigate or challenge this?
The source doesn't give a simple map, but it absolutely implies a necessary shift. And the starting point underpinning everything, awareness.
Awareness as power.
As a form of power, yes. Not being paralyzed, but being equipped. Recognizing how the world actually works, seeing the game, understanding the control mechanisms we discussed, that's the absolute first step.
Without it, you're just reacting blindly. Easy to control.
Exactly. The source connects it all back to you, the listener. Your exhaustion, not just personal fatigue, a deliberate outcome. Your comfort, a control method, your self-deception, rewarded to keep you compliant.
Your kindness, vulnerable, your identity, manufactured, reputation, weaponized, systems, broken by design, power, protected, shame, a tool, unawareness, rewarded.
Right. And seeing that difficult, uncomfortable awareness is what starts to break the cycle. It allows you to reclaim authenticity.
Stop blaming yourself for systemic issues. See who holds the strings.
Yes. Recognizing how money shapes things, how shame controls, how kindness is weaponized, that's the beginning of agency. Becoming harder to control. Wealth dominates the external, but awareness is power internally.
Okay, so awareness is step one. What flows from that?
Yeah.
Reclaiming your inner world.
That seems to be the implication, and a huge part of that is question everything.
An active practice, not just one.
Ongoing. Question narratives, media, politicians, authority. Question your assumptions. Where did this belief come from? Who benefits? Question the rules. Who do they serve? What's the cost of following blindly?
Question comfort. What am I trading for this ease? What truths am I avoiding?
Question confidence, especially loud confidence. Look for substance. Recognize sounding right isn't being right.
Question your own certainties. Why am I so sure? Examine emotional attachments to beliefs.
Question the systems, see dysfunction as design. Ask why it demands your brokenness or complicity. It's about breaking free from conditioned acceptance.
And alongside questioning, prioritizing authenticity, truth, especially with yourself.
Yes. Directly countering that rewarded self-deception, that subtle process of being bought.
Rejecting the rewards for lying to yourself. Confronting uncomfortable truths about your life, choices, complicity.
Choosing honesty over comfortable illusions. Stopping that incremental trade of authenticity for comfort or acceptance. Recognizing when you're being bought.
Seeking truth even if it means discomfort. Risking belonging built on lies.
That takes courage, as the source implies. Actively reclaiming your identity from market forces, external expectations. Refusing the manufactured version of you.
And refusing shame. Seeing it as a control tool, not a reflection of your worth.
Exactly. Honesty with oneself, the source suggests, might be the most revolutionary act in a world thriving on deception.
The source also implies we need to embrace discomfort and fear, right? If comfort is control.
Then choosing discomfort is often where freedom and growth lie. Understanding that real change, real connection involves discomfort, risk, struggle.
Lessen the fear of standing alone. Realize losing yourself by conforming is worse.
Accept the pain of deviation as the price of becoming undeniable. Confront the fear of uncertainty. Safety traded for freedom is submission.
Choose the messy path of freedom over controlled illusions.
And remember, true kindness needs strength. Saying no, setting boundaries, risking being disliked sometimes. Prioritizing truth over fake harmony.
Which leads to setting boundaries and protecting yourself.
Crucial, especially in a world exploiting goodness and promoting exhaustion. Learn to spot when your empathy or duty is being leveraged.
Set firm boundaries. Time, energy, values. Say no without guilt.
Protecting your well-being isn't selfish here, it's autonomy, a revolutionary act against depletion. True kindness includes self-protection. Goodness needs awareness and strength.
Okay, so that's reclaiming the inner world. How about engaging externally, strategically? Silence versus speaking.
The source acknowledges silence can be survival, but warns about the internal cost shrinking yourself, becoming invisible.
Visibility is claimed by the defiant, not given to the obedient.
You have to stop disappearing on purpose, risk being misunderstood or disliked.
So know when the cost of silence outweighs the risk of speaking. Speak, even if your voice trembles.
Find that point. If silence is necessary, let it be strategic, temporary, not a default state of being bought.
What about preemptive empathy in action, countering the normalization of suffering?
Don't wait until it hurts you personally to care. Real change needs empathy before the pain is forced on you.
Resist normalization. Refuse to look away. Reject inaction as default.
And recognize doing nothing is a decision. It carries guilt. Waiting until it affects you is always too late for building a better world.
Communication. Facts aren't enough. Emotion is key.
Critical insight. Lies work because they tap emotion, fear, outrage, tribalism. Brains react to emotional hooks. Algorithms amplify it.
So truth needs emotion to spread, not sterile logic.
Learn to speak the language of emotion, not to manipulate, but to connect.
Yeah.
Make truth feel real, urgent. Storytelling, metaphor. The battleground is feelings.
And finally, engaging externally by asking better questions, derived from the critique of systems, charity.
Yes. Go beyond the surface. Ask. Who really benefits? Who decided? Who's missing? Why is it broken? Does the dysfunction serve a purpose? Who makes the rules and who do they truly serve? Questioning dysfunction as design.
Okay, so pulling all this together, the diagnosis, the cost, these implicit strategies, what does winning look like, according to this source? It's not climbing the ladder within the rigged game.
No, exactly. Trying to win by the system's rules means becoming part of the problem. The win is redefined. It's internal.
Reclaiming clarity, authenticity, autonomy, freedom.
Yes. Understanding the forces so intimately, you become less susceptible, less easily manipulated, controlled, erased.
Choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over acceptance, discomfort over control.
Consciously making those choices. Seeing yourself as irreplaceable not because the system says so, but because you are, and refusing to be flattened into a function.
And it's not a one-time thing, a continuous process.
Daily practice. Awareness, questioning, boundaries, deliberate choices. Internal and external.
Less a destination, more a way of being. Reclaiming your ground in a reality designed to take it.
That feels like the essence of it.
So, to recap this deep dive, the source describes a world operating on unsettling rules, hidden systems using our nature for control, profit, hierarchy.
And playing along, unaware or afraid, costs us dearly ourself, our integrity, our connection, our sense of justice.
But the path forward implied isn't fighting the system on its terms. It's a fundamental shift in how you operate, starting with awareness.
The win is in cultivating awareness, relentless questioning, reclaiming your inner ground authenticity, embracing discomfort, setting boundaries.
Engaging strategically, with empathy, emotional truth, critical questions.
Consistently choosing that path, choosing authenticity over compliant ease. That's where the source suggests freedom lies. Reclaiming the self the system tries to buy or erase.
Which leaves us with that powerful, lingering question from the source material itself. Something for you listening to really mull over.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is your comfort making you stronger, wiser, freer? Or is it quietly controlling you, ensuring your compliance and limiting your potential?
Definitely a question that sticks with you.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.